Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Falling Off the Floor podcast. This week, we have a special guest, a guest that has been on the show before, Noah Dines. Noah just got the world record for most human-powered vertical feat in a ski season. 365 days of all-out badass skiing every single day. You guys loved his story the first time he came on when he was just a small portion of the way into his journey, and he has now completed it at over 3.5 million vertical feet in a year. So without further ado, Noah, I will let you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey.
Hey, super psyched to be back here. Always
Yep.
fun to come back. And I just the other day finished up my year of skiing 3.59 million feet of human powered skiing. So no chairlifts, no helicopters, no sleds, no horses, no nada. The horse sounds fun.
Yeah, no ski touring for you?
No seizuring. No camel assisted skiing in Morocco. They'll sign me
Yeah.
up. And so now the beginning of the rest of my life, but I just had really an incredible year. I was all over the country, was in Europe for a couple months, in Chile for 3 months, and began and end the year here in Stowe, Vermont, which is where I'm based out of.
It's incredible, man. I never doubted you. The only thing in the back of my mind the whole time was like, how is this guy not going to get injured in some capacity? I'm like, if you ski every single day as hard as you're skiing, it's incredible. And I think I said it in a comment to you yesterday, it's a testament to what the human body is capable of. And putting your mind towards a goal like that, you never gave up. Throughout your journey, did you face any injuries or were you laboring any injuries in the body?
No, the closest I came, I had a crash in Austria that ended up being no big deal, but that was like the closest crash situation. I got a little bit sick a few times, but never sick. But it was always in the back of my mind. It
Yeah.
it real people get hurt skiing all the time. It's a dangerous sport. I like to ski fast, and just even if my skiing was really like, I took it back a step generally, but it's dude, I was outside for like 2,300 hours or something. It's just like the amount of time you're out there is just an injury waiting to happen. Part of that, I think, was good prep and conscientiousness and recovery and being on it mentally and never kind of going too deep. But also there's luck. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it wasn't luck. We've all hit a shark and something almost bad has happened. That didn't happen. I got lucky.
Yeah. So something we didn't talk about the first time you were on was the preparation that went into this year. What were the steps that you took to prepare for a journey like this, physically, mentally, job wise? How did you set up this year to be able to do this?
Great. I kind of thought of it on two sides, body and business, and I was much better at the body side than the business side. Uh, so I broke my arm, just my wrist, not badly, in June 2023. So the summer before I was going to start. So I planned to do a lot of like just sitting on the bicycle for a long time. I was not able to do that. I also was working at a sleepaway camp in Colchester for that summer, which is flat in Vermont, Camp Kinia, an awesome place. And I was getting out into the mountains once or twice a week just to do some running, but I ended up doing a bunch more running and just like lap up the mountain, 2 or 3 laps up the mountain than I had really anticipated. I got into biking later in the season. I did a cool little trip. I had to be in Flagstaff to help out my friend with a school orientation. And then I biked from Flagstaff to the Grand Canyon, ran rim to rim to rim the next day, then biked back. And I think that
Wow.
was like a good test of like, can you just like do 3 days of hard exercise in rather uncomfortable conditions? It was still summer, so it was incredibly hot in the Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
disgustingly hot, inappropriately hot. Uh, so there was a lot of that. Business was where things were hard. Uh, oh, back to the body. Sorry, I'll finish that. One train, Noah. And I once we got snow, we had an awesome November that year here in Vermont. I did 1 week kind of at race pace, and I figured out like, oh, you didn't eat enough. I lost a lot of weight. It wasn't good, and maybe I didn't quite rest enough, so I was a little tired. So there was like first of all, it proved to myself that I could in fact do 1 week at 9,090 feet a day, which was what I thought I needed to hit 3 million over 330 days. But I learned from that, and I just skied a lot. I just got used to being outside skiing a lot, even if it's just skiing 5,000 or 6,000, just 5 or 6,000 feet a day. It was really good prep just for being out there, putting the skins back on, rather than coming into it. If you're used to being outside and exercising for an hour, it's just the sheer amount of time, I think, is really the thing you need to prepare for. I did some
Yeah.
lifting and stuff, just kettlebell stuff, just to have a little more muscle mass.
Yeah.
And always core. I think, like we were talking about injury, a strong core is a skier's best friend.
Yeah.
If it keeps you upright, that means you didn't crash. And if you didn't crash, you probably didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
So that, and then I was nobody. In the greater scheme, I'm still nobody, but at least I've done something now. And you
Yeah.
go to companies, you go to brands, and it's really, really hard to get support. Nobody wants to take a chance on a year-long project with somebody totally unproven, with no film planned, etc. And I didn't have anybody to plan a film with. So it was really hard. There's a lot of like saying, I'm going to work on business today. And then sat on my computer and like Googled some things and then went skiing or whatever. So that was really hard. I looked at some logistical stuff and mapped stuff out, but it was hard. In that vein, I have to give a shout to like some sponsors that were on really early. Fisher, when they heard about what I was doing, they hopped on in like August 2023. They were one of the absolute first, and they're like, okay, sure, like you're not going to do it, but have some skis, kid.
Yeah.
So it's cool now at the end, like there's that were with me when they had no real reason to be.
Yeah.
That's a little special. That's a great relationship. So yeah, that was the prep and a lot of wondering. There was a lot of wondering. I remember doing like a podcast or an article. I was like, yeah, I don't know what it will feel like. I'm excited to see what it feels like, but I don't know yet. What will you eat? I don't know. Whatever I want.
Yeah. That I feel like that question has probably been asked of you more than anything. What do you eat on a daily basis?
And the answer is always carbs, 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 and more carbs.
Yeah.
Bread products, candy, bread, whatever. Right at the end, I got on a huge Italian ice kick. Not really like beneficial, but made me happy.
That's amazing. So was there at any point that you like tracked your calories for the day, or were you just jamming it all down?
I was jamming it down.
Yeah.
It's when you finish something like this, there are always little regrets, and I didn't with some like the real precise tracking of some things, but I think it was in the 5,000 to 7,000 calorie a day range. Is kind of the
Yeah.
number my watch spit out. Just
So
always made.
it always made what? Sorry.
I just always made sure to eat enough and then eat a little more. But I hate feeling super full. So I
Yeah.
never like people would invite me over and like prep so much for like I'm not gonna eat that much. But I
Yeah.
will but if we sit here, it will all disappear. But if we sit here for half an hour, you'll be disappointed. But if we sit here for 2 hours, I'll have said I'm done like 19 times and then kept picking.
Graze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, much like a cow.
Yeah. So one of the most tracked stat lines I feel like was your candy intake. What was the favorite candy that you ate?
So it's the Haribo in Europe, the like raspberry blackberries, so it's like gummy coated with a little thing. Those
Oh
are
yeah.
probably the number one overall. If you want to just like fry your brain on candy joy very quickly, it's Nerds gummy clusters.
Oh, so good.
They're
I
so good, but it's just like cheating. It's just like dopamine, just like
yeah.
fries your brain. The in terms of the highest quality, it's the European Haribo raspberry
Yeah.
blackberries.
I spent like 6 weeks in Europe this summer, and I had those on several occasions. They're top notch.
Yeah,
Uh, I was literally on a tour yesterday, and definitely not touring at your vertical intake every day, but I'm on a long tour, and there was a point that I was like, man, I'm getting pretty hungry, and opened up the bag and I jammed to the bottom, and lo and behold, right below my shovel, like bottom of the bag, was a fresh bag of red berry limited edition Nerds clusters. And
oh,
I don't know when
gasoline.
I don't know when I put them in there, but man, it was a welcome sight when it was like -degrees, snowing super hard. We're out there charging like lap after lap in this one zone filming, and I was like, wow, this is truly what
It's
is
just
going to bring
enough.
me back.
You need something, just a little kick.
Yeah. So your stat line is insane. And I'm going to pull this up for the audience here and read a couple of these stats and get your insight on them, because I was reading this yesterday and was like, this is insane. Like three and a half or 3.59 million. Like that's a huge number, but it's like a number that you can't even like really calculate or think about in your head. You're just like, wow, that's a shit ton. But the way you broke it down, like your biggest day, 17,336 feet. I
December 1st. Yeah.
December 1st, like I can't even fathom that in a day. I last season we were in Alaska. We're at sea level. We're coming from touring here in Colorado at 13,000 feet. And I get to Alaska and we felt like bulletproof tigers out there. Like no, not a ton of training. We're just touring a lot. I mean, I felt like I was in good shape, and we did like an 11,000-foot day in Alaska. And I was like, this is the craziest. I could never do this in Colorado. And then to read your stat line, 17,336, and then you woke up the next day and did it, maybe not that much, but a
But
shit
I
ton
did that
again.
was a bender. I went on this wild bender uh right when I got back to Stowe, when like the resort was still closed,
Yep.
but it was snowing pretty good. So I had access to good terrain. The terrain here in terms of like just going up and going down and having fun, but not having to walk on flats or false flats or whatever is
Yeah.
unmatched. 2,000 feet under an hour, easy.
Yep.
And so I had that. I was just coming from months at elevation.
Yep.
The temperature, I was coming from late spring, early summer in Chile. So all of a sudden I was in cold temps again, which I think we talked about last time when I was on
Yep.
that I was battling heat a lot.
Yep.
And so cold temps, good snow, good friends, good oxygen. Friends, that's the other one. It's all of a sudden I was skiing with my home friends all the time. And like there'd just be somebody show up when I'd done like 9,000 feet. And we're like, okay, let's skin a lap. And they're like, well, I want to skin too. I was like, well, I'm not going to tap out. And then like it was 10 days straight where I did over 13,000 every day. It just went,
Oh my God.
and it was like powder. It was powder skiing. It was awesome. It was so fun.
Yeah.
The
And
bender of a
that's like,
lifetime.
yeah, that's the testament of what I talk so frequently about on this show is like community and connection and the people that you're around. It plays such a major role in way more than just like our mental well-being. Like you got home, you've been on the road for 11 months, it's your last month in your home and all your friends are around you. The Stoke, like I saw my friend Jenna Henry, who's from your area, was like skiing
Who's
with you
the best? I
guys. I'm
love
like,
Jenna.
yeah, Jenna is the shit. uh it was just so cool watching that community, and being here in Colorado, and watching that story unfold, I was like, I was really thinking to myself, if my December wasn't so crazy, I was like, I need to get on a flight
Mhm.
and just watch this in person. Um, so I, the story unfolding over the last year has been an incredible one to watch for everyone involved. I think you probably reached audiences and people around the world that you never thought you would when you first started this thing. And like you said, like Fisher took a chance on you. Um, anyone, I could just randomly send an email to a ski company today, and they're like, "Oh, that guy's never going to do it," but you did it, and they stuck with you, and like that's a testament again of that like community and connection and like people believing in you, and that truly you pulled something off that nobody expected you to,
Yeah.
and look at you now. Now you get to chill in Vermont. You're back home skiing with everyone you love, and you finished it. And I don't I don't think anyone is going to even hold a torch to anything close to what you've pulled off.
It, this is true honesty. I hope they do, but
Yeah,
I just hope they have as much fun as I did. I hope somebody could. I hope somebody gives it a go, and I will support them just like I've been supported. But I just want them to have as much fun as I did.
yeah,
Speaking of the community, that's been the absolute biggest change since we spoke last time.
yeah,
The in is that all of a sudden, especially right after I left Winter Park, uh, I went to Utah, and things were starting to change already by the time we talked. But
yeah.
I went to Winter Park, or not Winter Park. Ended up staying with Steven Nyman in Park City, retired American downhiller, and all of a sudden I just like became part of the skiing world rather than just a skier from Stowe. I became part of the skiing world, and since Utah, I got to meet just the raddest, kindest, coolest, most badass people that
Yeah.
our sport and snowboarding as well have to offer. And that somebody asked me an awesome question yesterday. Actually, I was having dinner with one of my guys from Fisher, and he said, "What was your best moments?" And I said, "On the day to day, it was like getting my 10,000 feet, skiing fast, wind in your hair, good snow, yada, yada." But when I look back, it's the friendships I made.
Yeah.
That's the happiest moment of it. It's the cashier in a small town in Chile that heard about what I was doing and was psyched about it and wanted a picture before I left. Or it's Jeremy Jones.
Yeah.
Or it's Kai. Or like the Slovenian downhillers who I became friends with in Chile. Like all these, like just such random corners of the skiverse
Yeah.
made this such a cool, special year.
So, this is a lot about this podcast. We talk about, mental health and the mind and what it's like experiencing uh, you know, adversity throughout your journey throughout the year. Did you notice that mental health was really good? Was there times that you really struggled? Um, have you noticed now that this year is over and completing the goal that you've seen like a mental rise or anything like that?
So there are definitely times when it's harder, but as the year goes on and has gone on, and also because I've done hard things in the past, it's
Yeah.
things that you're able to draw upon, the kind of the library of tough times to power through certain ones. There were definitely times when a day or something felt insurmountable, but that was always just like put yourself out there, go through the motions until you feel good. Put the boots on, start the car, all those little things. Uh, and I think, I have been very conscientious about the end for a long time, this time of year, this part, and it's now beginning. Today, well, until you texted me, was going to be the first day that I had absolutely nothing on my schedule in well over a year and no like
Yeah.
ski goal that I needed to go skiing to accomplish. I am very, very well aware that there could be a big fall off. Um, I've been psyched to go skiing and had a goal and been happy because I reached the daily goal, the hourly goal, whatever. And I've been praised for it too. And that feels good. And now I'm stepping into the unknown. I don't know what I'm doing with my life entirely. I'm working on figuring it out, but it's a totally different time. It's a huge change. My routine is different. I've woken up every morning and gone skiing. If I haven't done that, it's because I'm going somewhere, I'm driving across the country or going to Chile, 18 days off snow. So I'm very cognizant of it. And I think talking about it, like so many things with mental health, is really important. And I expect to not always feel super happy, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But to find something good every day. And I'm lucky to have such good friends and family here that, it's not just skiing. We do other things. There's lots of other ways to be. Physically, I still feel really, really good. Aaron Rice, who did this record, was pretty smashed by the end, and it took him a long time to recover, and he definitely had struggles mentally after. And a lot of it was his friends they were skiers, and that's what they did together, and that was it. I feel
Yeah.
lucky to be a little bit older than he was and to have a really good community and to physically feel great. I'm
Yeah.
excited to say yes to hanging out. I'm excited to say yes to weddings and to other things, to be a friend that can help other friends as much as possible rather than only needing help. So I have a lot
Yeah,
to look forward to, but I'm super not worried, but I'm cognizant that this could be a tricky time in my life.
for sure. I I think when we get very single track minded like that for long periods of time, it almost feels like, oh, this is what it's going to be like forever. And I think that was an important thing for you to keep in mind, is like being cognizant of like, okay, like 365 days is going to eventually come up, and, preparing yourself mentally for that. Because I think, especially in athletics, I faced it when I had my spinal injury. I had this identity. It was my identity. My entire life was to compete. In the off season, we were training to compete for the on season. And in a matter of seconds, it was all taken away. And I was not prepared mentally for what that feeling was going to be like. And I struggled for a really long time with that identity piece. Like, Austin is a skier. That is what Austin does. And now the skiing's gone away. What do I do now?
Who is Austin?
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that Austin and Noah are way more than just skiers. Uh, we're human beings. We have families. We have friends. We have all of these different things that make us who we are. And sure, there's going to be an adjustment period where you don't really know your identity, but that's, like you said, that's okay. It's okay to figure this out. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that can be a part of our identity. Skiing can be a part of that, and you'll continue to ski and you'll continue to do cool things in the ski world. But there's so much more to who we are.
To life.
So yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if I had come up with this phrase kind of yet when we spoke in the summer, but I've said all along. People are you going to beat your own record if somebody breaks it? We beat it? No, absolutely not. This was an
yep,
incredible, incredible way to live one year, but it would be a heinous way to live a life.
yeah, that's true. And you'll always have the memory of this year. You don't know if you were to do it again, what that would actually look like. It could look totally different. Um, you could be chasing a goal that's out of reach, or it's
You
I
can
think it's
you can twist an ankle on icy steps on day 220 when you're
yeah,
deep into it, and that's that. You're always with something like this. You're a dumb thing away, and as the numbers get bigger and bigger, anything that goes wrong is a lot harder to recover from.
yeah. And I don't think people truly understand what, I mean, yes, people do truly understand uh, what it was like for you to experience this, but this is your memory, this is your goal, this is everything that you wanted to go right went right. So live in that moment, soak it in, and
Bask
you
in
know
it.
yeah, bask in it instead of, thinking, oh, Cody Townsend or some other skier is going to go out and beat my goal. I need to up what I did. It's like, no, I just had this incredible year and live in that. Uh,
Yeah, it's the experience of the year. The numbers at the end of the day allowed me to have this year. If you're just out trying to ski a bunch, then you're a ski bum, which is fine, but it's a very
yeah,
different experience than it's terrible out, but you're still going skiing. And what do you learn from that? Or like you're doing this thing, and so because it generates interest in the ski world, you get to meet these people and get inspired by them, inspire them, and learn how to be, even more focused and better at your craft by seeing how they do their craft. So the
yeah,
numbers are really, really, really important, but you're totally spot on. I've said all year that it's a framework, that the numbers are a framework. They're a scaffolding for the experience.
yeah. With skiing in general, like now we're back into the heart of the season here in North America. Do you think or want the next year to be heavily involved in skiing? Do you want to get into guiding or stay in the ski world in some capacity, or are you still figuring that out?
Well, the short answer is yes. It turns out that I very much enjoyed being an athlete this year, and I would like
Yeah,
to keep doing that. It was really cool, and I would prefer that than doing something else. So I'm, and that door is the most cracked it's ever been. And now it's
yeah,
my time to pound it open. I'm working on doing some speaking engagements. I like talking about what I've done, and I think
yeah,
people like hearing about it. And I think that not just in the ski world, but beyond, there's a lot that I can offer. I don't think guiding is where I want to go right now.
yeah,
We'll see. Uh, I think this year I'm in a weird spot, kind of, because it's like with the skiing, I am wrapping up my ski season. That was 14 months of, I think I've been off snow like 25 days of the past since November 1st, 2023, something like that. And so like I need to put on a little bit of muscle. I need to like get, I'm obviously like I can go ski touring for 10,000 feet every day at a moderate to slightly fast pace, but I want to put on some muscle, get strong
yeah,
while continuing to ski. So we'll see. I kind of have been thinking of it like now is the future is soon, but right now is the pause. This is just kind of that space in between, and
yeah.
I need to allow myself it. So far, today I've been skiing, had a meeting, and then recorded a podcast. So I don't know. If
Yeah.
I can do that, if we can continue doing things like that every day, uh, I'm not going to say no. But
Yeah.
it's a hard industry. It's a really hard
Yeah.
industry.
Super difficult. Um, have you rode a chairlift yet? Did you ride a
Mm,
chairlift today?
no, I don't know about us here. Uh,
Ah,
so I walked, but we got a bunch of new snow, and yeah, I had a nice ski.
awesome.
It's very relaxing to only ski for a few thousand feet in only a couple of hours or whatever. Really, just relaxing.
Yeah, for sure. I We're getting to a point here in Colorado that we're really filling in the backcountry, and like touring is really picking up, and it it almost, I don't know what if it's just been from watching your journey. When I ride a chairlift, I'm like, oh man, this is this isn't what I want to be doing. The snow shit. I want to go. I want to go into the backcountry and ski fresh snow. So with your touring, you did a lot of stuff like at resort,
Yeah,
correct?
a lot of it at resorts, maybe even more than that at like closed resorts was probably the number one. Or in, and then a lot of resort adjacent, like Mount Hood, rarely in the resort, but you're near the resort. But it's like you could like theoretically ski into a crevasse, but if instead of skiing into the crevasse, you just don't ski into the hole in the ground, you're fine. Uh,
Yeah. I I we talked about this last time, but doing something like this in the backcountry is like you add in so many different variables, like the avalanche risk, and like you just said, like in Mount Hood, like a crevasse, or it's the world of ski touring. I think when people think the word ski touring, it immediately jumps to like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like I'm gonna die in an avalanche, and it's like, there's like so many different ways that you can ski tour and do it safely and effectively, whether it's at a resort or skiing low angle stuff. In terms of, it seems like in terms of getting the most bang for your buck for vertical feet, like doing that at a resort was probably most effective for you.
yeah, it depends where, but a lot of that, especially like on the East Coast and some other places, it's like there's other, it's because, well, and certainly on the East, it's like that's where they built the best terrain is where the ski resorts are.
Yeah.
Uh, and then in other places, like the best roads that get you to the bottom of a mountain are where ski resorts are. But certainly, like Mount Hood, if you're next to a ski resort, that's quite efficient.
Yep.
The volcano in Chile, you go through a ski resort and then above it. So a lot of stuff like that. But totally, like, if there was kind of a style of ski touring this year, I did it, whether it was like icy groomers or deep snow in the backcountry. But
Yeah.
I think there are so many, and I didn't worry about that. That's why I said human powered, because I didn't need to get in a fight with people on the internet about exactly what I'm doing. So
Yep.
use the broad term. But yeah, it's like if you want to just go where it's really just about the exercise, and instead of going to the gym, you go for a ski tour, then you can do that. If you want to prioritize skiing snow, if you want to be like what do you call them, Frisco powder addict, who I got to ski with, and like your number one thing is skiing really good snow. That can be your priority. If you want to get rowdy, that can be what you want to do. It's just such a broad swath,
For
but
sure.
and all of them are awesome. There's no one right way to do it. It's just about doing it.
So you skied a lot of places. What was your favorite day or favorite place on this year journey?
Two favorite days, which I know is not how favorites work, but my rules.
Yeah.
Was the day I skied off the top of Mount Hood with Jeremy Jones, Kai Jones, Cass Jones, Hayes Liverpool, Park and Coaston. We like
Yeah.
summed it at like 5 p.m. after we all had done our own days. Like they had done spinny flippy things all day in the park, and I had skied all day. Then we met up to go ski something mellow above the resort, above Timberline. And then Jeremy Jones, being Jeremy Jones, uh, marched us up, well, suggested we march ourselves up to the top of the mountain. And we skied a really fun, like slushy, spiny face. Uh, and those guys, I mean, they're the pinnacle of free riding. So
Yeah.
that was pretty sweet. And then there was one day, and really a week in Chile, where there was a lot of like, there's a FWQ 4-star, and like everybody was kind of down there. And then it snowed 3 feet of absolute blower on a great base. And there were only good skiers. There's powder all day. I was skiing with a bunch of really thick skiers and snowboarders. And that also we lost power too. So like there barely had cell phone service. So people would just like wander around, find people. And that was sick. Those were some special, special days.
That's awesome, man. Was in terms of like skiing zones, was Chile your favorite place to ski?
Chile had the easiest access to great terrain that I got to know pretty well.
Yeah.
Uh, and you could ski pretty efficiently there,
Yeah.
generally. Not always, but generally. So that was great because I did I would make decisions on what I'd ski based on efficiency. Like even if there was better snow and something pretty rad, but it was, a 2 mile approach, not going to catch me doing that.
Yeah.
Now you will, but that
Yeah.
I couldn't sink 2 hours to get no vert or 200 feet or whatever. That
Yeah.
was bad use of my time.
For sure. So before each day, like when you got back from skiing, was there a lot of planning that would go into your routes? Especially when you got to new places, I'm sure that happened. But was there a routine of I get home from skiing, I'm going to look at the maps and start figuring out how to
Er,
do this, or were you just raw sending it out there a lot of the times?
Mostly rough. I mean, it would just
Okay.
be like show up, see what looked the most efficient.
Yeah.
And especially I've seen in spring a lot. In summer, so avalanches were of much lower concern.
Yeah.
And I would find, look, literally just that looks efficient and it looks like I can go there. And then I would do it 5 times or whatever.
I love that.
Like
I
just go there and then lap it. And then
Yeah.
sometimes, if the snow is good, poke around a little. But I mean, a lot of these Stravas are just thick lines. Just
Yeah.
go there, ski it. And even if you're skiing the same thing, I would make sure to ski like, this lap will ski like super long radius turns. This lap will like ski dad turns. Uh, Here we'll straight line. But I would remind myself to ski with energy. And if you're skiing with energy and you vary your skiing, you can have a lot of.
Yeah. I something that I loved that you kept saying throughout your journey was I'm still having fun skiing
Yep, still
and
excited to ski.
still excited to ski. Like that is at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. I think with a lot of, you know, cardio based things like this where you're in the pain factory for a while, it's really easy for the mind to just be like, this sucks. Like I'm doing this to achieve the goal, but this fucking sucks. And it's it seemed like your mind state the whole time was like, this is awesome. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, people would like tell me oh, so much type 2 fun, yada yada. And I'd be like, no. Like some
Yeah,
days are hard, but like no, I'm having a good time. Like this is just fun or at least pleasant. Uh
yeah,
Sometimes I would and scold people for being like, oh, it's so hard, yada yada yada. Because then I might believe them and then it might become hard.
yeah,
I didn't
for
want people
sure.
I didn't want people telling me that like it sucked and it was hard and you must have to work so hard. I don't want to have to work so hard. Like, I just want to go do my thing. So
Yeah.
like let
M-
me believe that.
Mindset is so, so important. And I try and remind myself of that. I'm in like my really busy time of the year, and it's really easy for me. Like, I can prepare myself around October. I know what's about to hit me in like November, December, and I prepare myself like mentally. But it's really easy for my mindset to be like, oh, I don't need to record a podcast today. Like, I've got so many other things going on with skiing, and or I don't need to edit this piece of content for a client or whatever it may be. It's really easy when things start getting difficult for my mind to go that way. And I just have to remind myself, like, it's fine. Like this is the life that I chose. And for the next like 6 months, it's gonna be difficult. But I know that there's an end that will come at some point, and my summers are a lot more chill, and I can travel more and see people more often that I want to see. And yeah, that mindset is especially in your case, I can't imagine how important that was for you on the road. That there is an end in sight, but I need to like stay focused and happy about what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, it was absolutely like, this is where I am. This is my situation. I am here because of choices I have made, and let's do our absolute best in it.
Yeah. You Was there ever a point along the way that you got to the mindset that you're like, I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. Or did you
No,
always get out of that mindset? Yeah.
there were, because I rarely thought about the big goal. And it was too big and too long and too impossible.
Yeah.
Skiing 3 million feet was impossible, but skiing the next 1,000 feet was totally possible.
Yep.
Skiing 10,000 feet, that's something I know how to do. I can
Yeah.
do that today,
Yeah.
but I can't ski 3.5 or 3 million feet today.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Look, I know I can't do that. I cannot ski 3 million feet in one day.
Yeah.
So, and I can't worry about that. And there were days when I went home early. It was rather rare, usually due to rain
Yep.
or like whiteout fog. But, and on those days, with weather days, it's do your best and then go home and rest. Like, use this day really effectively.
Yeah. You know, the the kind of the crossover in my life, and I tell people this all the time, is in addiction recovery and things. You hear people in recovery say this all the time. It's 24 hours at a time. You just need to get your head to the pillow at the end of the day, and you just made it another day sober. And that is the mindset that I use on a daily basis. If I have to think about being sober for the rest of my life, if I live another 60 years, it is way easier for me to think, all right, it's 2:15 in the afternoon right now. I'll do some work after this podcast. I'll cook some dinner and I'll go to bed, and then I go skiing tomorrow. It's way easier for me to wrap my head around that of like, okay, I can make it the next 7 hours without a drink than it is, okay, when I'm a grandparent and 90 years old, am I going to still be drinking? I can't think in that way. And you saying that, I can't think in the 3.5 million range, but it's okay to think about I can get 10,000 feet today. Um,
Today it might be hard. Like, it might be hard to resist reaching for that bottle, but I'm tough enough to resist reaching for that bottle today. I'm tough enough to ski 10,000 feet, even though it's warm.
yeah. Do you find yourself these days having a more positive outlook on life in general, that goal setting is possible? Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Uh, I feel personally like I can do anything right now. I just did
yeah,
this, made a goal, did it, had fun with it.
yeah.
Um,
And the world watching, I think you gave a more positive outlook on life too, as well. I think that there is probably kids watching this that are like, wow, Noah Dines pulled this off. And maybe it has nothing to do with skiing, but it gives them hope of achieving goals. Goal setting and achieving goals can, I think, at times be the most daunting thing, especially for younger communities. Of what am I going to do with my life? Am I going to go to the best college? Am I going to get the best job? All these different like goal setting things can be difficult for a young generation. And uh, I tip my cap to you,
thanks.
because you made a impact in ways that you probably will never fully understand. There's people that will listen to this podcast that won't comment or say anything, but they'll think about your story when they're trying to achieve their goals. Um, and that's a
It's
pretty
like teaching.
cool, yeah,
It is cool. And it's like teaching, which I was doing mostly before this, where you don't know the impact that you will have had on somebody, and you have to be okay with that. You have
yeah,
to throw that up to the universe, do your best, and be okay, not always knowing the outcome.
yeah. I was talking about this last week because I chased a storm in Steamboat. Steamboat just got pounded on the storm, so we packed the car, drove down to Steamboat, and I was staying with a buddy of mine that I actually met in a rehab almost a decade ago, and he still lives in Steamboat, and we were talking about the mindset and everything that I was in at that time a decade ago at this rehab in Steamboat, and I was like, man, none of those employees of that program would think that I'm doing what I'm doing today and that I'm sober and that I'm like a good person because I was just a little shit at that time. But I constantly, in the back of my mind, think about little things that I picked up along the way, various things that I learned from people along the way, and they made an impact on my life. And I've tried to make it more of a habit now as I've gotten deeper into my recovery and found success in this world, that just sending those little messages to someone like,
Everybody loves a little note.
yeah,
I got one from my
and
fourth grade teacher, and it was awesome.
yeah, and that I say this on the podcast all the time. I don't do this to make money. I don't really make money from this podcast, but those little messages that I get from random people around the world saying, that episode with Noah Dines, that episode with Jenna Henry, that episode with Alex Schlope, whatever, changed the way that I think about things or see the world. That's the only thing that I need. Um, and I don't even need it, but it's what keeps the wheels turning and keeps me excited doing this. Is you made an impact with this journey that you were on. Um, and,
And I'm proud
like
of
we
it.
said, and that you said it, you're proud of you and people are proud of you, and sit in that and let that bask for a little bit, because this is
It's a special
this is
time in
a
my life.
this is a very special time in your life. You'll never forget this moment. Uh, you'll tell your family and extended family and friends about this for the rest of your life, and people will still ask you, what did you eat? And people will still ask you,
How
how
are
many
your feet? And they'll ask you, what was your favorite place? And what's next? And I can go on with
yeah,
every question very well meaning.
yeah. So, falling off the floor podcast, we always wrap things up by giving the guest an opportunity to leave the audience with one tidbit of knowledge, a burning desire, something that you want to be remembered, or a tip or trick. So, what is your burning desire, Noah Dines? What do you want to leave with
Tra-
the audience?
well, I'll give you a kind of flippant one, and then I'll be a little more real. But transition with your skis on, gosh darn it. Good Lord. Stop taking your skis off at the top of the mountain. Uh, your
Yep.
life will be better. Practice inside twice, and your life will be better forever.
Yeah. Schemo.
It's just it doesn't have to be ski mode. It can be free ride. You can do it. You can do it. Your
Yeah.
life will be better. It's also safer. You won't get pinhole. You won't get snow up and everywhere.
Yep.
Just do it. Just try it. Call me. I will FaceTime you through it. I'm serious. And then seriously, it's whoever listened to this, you can be me. Like I was talking about, I didn't come into this with a resume. I did this because I wanted to. I didn't do this to become a pro skier. I did this because I wanted to see what it felt like. You can be me. It doesn't have to be skiing. It doesn't have to be skiing a lot of vert, but you can be me and do something that you want to do because you want to do it. And you'll never
I
have time. You'll never have time, but you have, if you make time, big difference. If you make time, you can do it.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important thing. There's no better time than now to do any of the goals that you've been reaching out to do. I hear people constantly, I want to do this one day. It's like, what's stopping you?
What about this afternoon?
Yeah, you can do it. Uh, you pulled it off. And there was, this time last year or this time in November of last year, there was probably thoughts going through your head of like, how am I going to pull this off? How am I going to make the money? How am I going to afford this? How am, all these different questions.
What if, what if, what if?
You can do that until you die. You can what if until you literally die, and you'll be on your deathbed thinking, wait, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I,
Yeah.
So there's no better time than now. And can't thank you enough for coming back on and sharing your story. Um,
And thanks for the
it,
awesome discussion.
yeah, man, it was fun to catch up with you, and I know the audience is going to love hearing about your journey. They loved hearing about this journey when we first talked. I think that must have been in April or
May.
something.
It must
Yeah,
have been in
May.
May. Because I left the East like May 7th or 8th. And it was in my
Yeah,
first week or two in Colorado.
yeah.
Outside the
You were
Fraser Rec Center in the back of my truck, boiling. I was boiling during that podcast. I remember like you could look at the like my Garmin data and it was like, wow, he was stressed during that recording.
yeah. That was wild. We somehow got connected. You're in the back of your truck.
Yeah.
That was a fun one. As I'm like
Yeah.
sitting in air conditioning and
20 minutes away.
20 minutes away. Exactly. Exactly.
We got on, you're like,
Well,
wait, you're there? And it's like, yeah.
yeah. Well, congratulations, Noah.
Thank you,
Seriously,
Austin.
this is a amazing milestone that you have achieved. Keep doing you, you know, keep on keeping on. And as you said, any goal is possible now. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you to all the listeners. Falling Off the Floor podcast with Noah Dines. We are out.